What the H is up, my NFL fans? It's your boy Kevin Phillips Fox here with the Legit Football NFL podcast, and I am here with my Australian partner from down under, Mr. Adrian Ravito. Get the hell out here, Adrian, and say hello to the beautiful people.
What is going on? And allow me to be the first of, I assume, many comments on your delightful background there.
Yeah, we got to address
Talk
the
us through the
elephant in the
process.
room. We got to address the elephant in the room. So I've been touch and go with my studio for a couple months. Everybody who's been patient through my shoddy audio and my horribly disgusting, messy background for a while, I appreciate y'all for sticking it out with us. But we're here now in a newly minted, newly designed studio. It was a lengthy and expensive process.
Worth it,
but
though.
we couldn't be happier to be here. We got our good equipment up. We got our cool decor. Hey, we got Luigi Gang. Shout out to Luigi. You see him right there.
Oh, you can see
Titan
him.
Maximum giving love. Love that.
Oh, nice. And the blue Yoshi.
Yeah, blue Yoshi, right? A little
interesting choice.
Yeah,
interesting choice.
Blue Yoshi. I got that at a what do they call those? I got that at a flea market in Florida. Shout out to my pops who better be watching. PK Martini, leave a comment if you're here hanging out with us. But it's not all interior design today. We have a lot to get to, Adrian. And
we do.
I appreciate you for ripping the Band-Aid off and addressing the elephant in the room of just the sheer professional set that I'm in, essentially.
I worry because I know people come here for the football knowledge, absolutely, but it's primarily for our interior design tips.
I was thinking that was the case,
so, and I'm worried if we don't spend enough time talking about it,
yeah,
I don't want to lose viewers.
And I'll get a little closer to the camera here because usually you're the first to comment on my beard trim, but you didn't today.
I didn't even. Well, I'm distracted by the
You're
background.
just distracted. but like I said, interior design, fellas hyping up other fellas, normal stuff. Guys, there's a lot of football to get to. Adrian, without further ado, tell me what we're talking about before we talk about the thing we're talking about.
Well, this is truly the dog days of the NFL.
Truly.
So we are first going to hit something, and I'm going to mute myself and let you talk about it for a second, so then I can fix up our next banner.
Yeah,
and
that
it is
sounds like
Ramondre Stevenson's extended.
And I was hoping that this would be what it was because I have some thoughts on this. So for those of you who don't know, Ramondre Stevenson has recently signed a 4-year, $36 million contract extension with the New England Patriots, handsomely paid for a running back. Ramondre Stevenson's been a favorite of this show. I've highly touted him pretty much since he started. I will say, though, I think he's been underrated this offseason.
I think he's perpetually underrated, I think, because he's on a bad Patriots team that he hasn't really got the love he deserves. I think we talked about him, and I'm trying to remember the episode. It was last offseason. Were we talking about him when it was like people approaching superstar status, as in like those that are on the trajectory?
Yeah.
That's the episode it was.
And we love him.
We're ahead of the game.
We love him on this podcast. However, I am one of the most guilty people this offseason of essentially leaving him for dead. I'm not targeting him in fantasy drafts. I think Antonio Gibson is going to cut into his redraft value. I think dynasty-wise, this contract really goes to show you that he's a great signing. Rookie quarterbacks love hyper-targeting running backs. And although Antonio Gibson is also a pass-catching running back, Ramondre Stevenson is no slouch at catching passes out of the backfield. I think dynasty, arrow pointing way up. Redraft, honestly, not way up, but it's up because clearly this is a commitment. They're not going to phase him out of their offense this year. Congrats to the Ramondre Stevenson Hive. I'm sure it's a great day for them.
Yeah, and I've got him in one of our teams. I might be the Legit Football dynasty. I've got him in, and he hasn't been overperforming in the fantasy world. But I do think this is probably the year that he's going to come out there. I feel like they're going to want to look after Drake May a little bit. They're going to funnel a lot of work through him. You're right; he can catch out of the backfield. He can kind of do it all, and he can be a 3-down back. So good on him for getting paid. He's still young, so they're going to a 4-year extension is okay. I think. Off the top of my head, the guaranteed money was maybe 17 million. So it's not like an overcommitment, but it's the running back market, and it is what it is. Yeah. He talked about being close. A few people called BS, but it turned out he was very correct, and here we are.
I'm
shout
not
out to
mad
some
at
of the people in the chat.
Oh yeah, we do have to do some catching up here. We have an absolutely beautiful trio of commenters right now. Armand with his usual hey now. Armand, we do miss the NSFW profile pic, but congratulations on the New York Grimaces of baseball. Who, Adrian, if you're
Oh, is
not,
that a baseball thing?
it's a baseball thing. There's this really amazing story going on in the MLB. For those of you who don't know it, just Google New York Mets grimace and you'll learn all about it. It's incredible. It's one of those weird things that only sports can give you. But congrats, I guess Armando Mets fan. I'm learning.
I've done this before, but can we rag on baseball for a second? Am I allowed to?
Boring. It's so boring.
Boring sport. Come on, dude.
But only because I love everything, as you know.
Yeah, I know you do. You are a shining beacon of positivity. Sorry, continue.
I try. We got 49ers faithful in the chat. We got Titan Maximum in the chat. We got some excellent banter already about Will Levis and whether or not he's good or not, or real, I guess, even.
Just a fake guy out there.
Bring back the
Just a
grimace
scarecrow.
Gosh, we legit football, man. We are, I really feel as though we're reaching a full circle moment here where memes have infiltrated our comment section, and I think that's a good thing. I think
I
that's
love
a
it.
good place in the life cycle of an NFL podcast. I'll take it.
I mean, the meme talk has always been part of your vernacular. I feel like you've brought it in a few places, and I love
me
it.
some memes. I'm a Twitter guy. If you're big in the Twitter streets, then you know memes. Like it's just something. You're always up on it.
Totally.
Without further ado, is anything else you want to get chatting about before we get to our main
afraid
topic?
we don't have much else. I mean, look, there's a few little bits and pieces, and if you check out the legit football that just dropped today, you're going to be getting some good tips, particularly for fantasy, which we're about to hit. Not to take your thunder here, but as far as news goes, we're in the dog days. It is what it is.
It's going to get weird. I'll tell you this. There's a couple things here. Oh goodness, Armand with the A-bomb. This is not the kind of A-bomb we want to report, but it sounds as though Barry Sanders had a health scare. Prayers up for Barry Sanders. If Anthony Weiner was here, he would, after hearing that news, have a heart scare of his own because
Correct.
Barry Sanders,
Apple Watch just going ham.
He is the Lions organization. He is one pride. Without further ado, I'll say this: I got some fun little tidbits for you. Working on not betting on sports that aren't football anymore because I suck at it. But that's led me down a rabbit hole of NFL futures and best ball. I don't know if you're into those realms.
Best ball, no futures, yes.
Love me some good futures. We'll have to talk about futures. That could be a future episode. Pun intended. Really terrible dad joke. I got it from my dad. And yeah, it was awful. You're a big dad joke guy. I know that.
Well, I mean, I recently got my powers. It's only been a year now, but I'm fine. You know, I'm fine tuning the art.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the best ball thing is going to be fueling a lot of my fantasy takes today because I'm in the best ball streets right now. Underdog Fantasy does daily, minutely best ball drafts that you can participate in. And are you familiar with the idea of best ball, Adrian?
Walk me through it.
So you draft your team way before other teams get drafted, and you never look at it again. And they take the highest scorer at each position from your team, and that's it. No roster decisions, no trades, no checks.
As in highest individual score, like
for that position. So this league I'm in now is quarterback, 2 running back, 3 receivers. So they'll take my top quarterback on my roster, my top 2 running backs every week, and then average that against other people's scores.
Okay, so
pretty awesome, right?
I don't fully understand the concept, but it sounds great.
And
you can bet on it.
Understand?
I love that.
Is this Australian brain here, or
so? Hold on a second. So you draft a team of how many? Sorry.
Congrats! Real quick, 49ers faithful. First year of Scott Fishbowl. Congratulations, man. I'm hoping to get in there eventually. Yeah, I submitted this year as well. 49ers faithful. Use your new poll that you have with the fish community and get me in there. Anybody who is also relating to Adrian's struggle of not understanding best ball or relating to my struggle of not understanding how Adrian doesn't understand it, please roast us in the comments.
I'm happy to take it. I'm Australian. I've got an excuse for everything.
But without further ado, Adrian, why don't we kick off our main topic? Fantasy football, flag plants, and it doesn't really get more fun than this. We have a good time doing this every year. Did you, by any chance, redux our fantasy flag plants from last year? Did you take a glance at those?
I did not. I'm sorry. I should have. But
no, please.
I can have a look at my old ones.
I can recall one that I'm not proud of, so don't look back. Let's just pretend we forgot. It's lost to the annals of history. We'll never know.
All right, can I tell you who I went through? All right, so no, that's the news.
For this year or for last
Okay,
year?
this is my last year's one. Pat Frymouth top 5 fantasy. Bow, bow. Bijan Worth 101. I'll stand by that. Chris Olave can be your wide receiver one. I'll also stand by that.
Yeah.
Baby, your boy Baby Cook. Uh, he was
He
running
was
back
excellent
27
last
at
year.
the time. He could sneak it to 10 to 15. That was
Yeah,
correct.
he's excellent.
Evan Hull, no. Javante Williams, waste of a pick. Stand by it. Jordan Love should be a dynasty startup QB2.
Boom.
That was
Yeah, you
that's a
nailed
hit.
it. You had a nice little year last year. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and I didn't, as far as I'm concerned, I had none. So we'll just fresh,
I just
slate.
talked the whole episode.
Yeah, I don't remember. I remember. Okay, I'll say it. I'll own it. Okay. I stupidly said that Miles Sanders was going to have a good season. Okay.
I told you. I
You all
said to you
said
he
it.
wasn't good.
You all
It was
said it.
Philadelphia offense, and that's all it was.
All right. Well, I'll own that. I'll wear that one. I'll wear the Scarlet A for the rest of the episode. I apologize if you drafted Miles Sanders on my advice. He sucked. He sunk teams. He sunk my teams. So hopefully never again. Titan Maximum here, highlighting a really nice perk of best ball. Guy goes for 35 on your bench, Adrian. Doesn't matter. He's not on your bench. He's in your lineup.
Okay. Now I get that.
And your best is just compared to other people's best.
Yeah. Okay.
It's an upside play. It's all about upside, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I think that's the fundamental principle of best ball drafting. Without further ado, Adrian, do you got a drum roll for me?
I don't think I do.
Oh,
sorry.
49ers faithful forever. Thank you. It's Abercrombie. Believe it or not, Abercrombie is a really nice NFL line. Just throwing that out.
Really?
Yeah.
I can give you a royal entrance.
There we go. That'll do.
Start it again.
Fantasy flag plants. We're gonna start at the position. And me personally, I went with one that I thought was like in the higher realm that deserves to be in the higher realm, and one that's like a dark horse.
Okay.
For each position. So I'm gonna start out with my quarterback that I think is going high, but I don't think is going quite high enough. And if you grab them where they're going on average, you're getting a value in my opinion, and that's Dak Prescott. He had an excellent season last year. He was the QB3. I know this because I have him in our Legit Football Dynasty League. You like that? Little Australian pronunciation there. And he was excellent for me. And yes, he had some games that were like, not great. Shout out to Buffalo Bills defense. They kind of cooked him. But I think he's going to be a very, very underrated fantasy football quarterback this year. He's going at the QB7, which is 4 spots lower than he finished last year. So if you can grab him at QB7, if he ends up sliding QB8, QB9, break your finger pressing the draft button.
For sure. I think, you know what? This is one of those things. It's like every year the Cowboys get hyped, right? And then this year, it's almost like had the reverse effect. It's like we hype them every year. Every year they fail in the playoffs. Guess what doesn't matter for fantasy? The playoffs. And Dak Prescott has been a regular season superstar year in, year out, and statistically has been fantastic. So I think a little bit of that like bias towards the Cowboys is making Dak slide in drafts. And even if I recall right, you might have offered him up to me in a certain draft. I'm sure you did anyway, and I had that same bias. But I think you're right. I think Dak Prescott he delivers every year on fantasy.
He does, and he's gonna funnel the wide receiver 1 projected, CeeDee Lamb, and I think if you have CeeDee Lamb projected as the wide receiver 1, that's got to mean Dak Prescott ends up having a pretty darn good year, right?
Yeah, correct. Actually, that's a 49 faithful. That's a really good way of putting it. He's a great fantasy football. I don't know if you want him as your real life QB because he seems to choke in the playoffs.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I still think Dallas is going to pay him handsomely, though. I still think he's going to break the bank.
There's no way you could get rid of him. Then you're not going to get better. He just needs to. I mean, there was those same arguments about Lamar Jackson, right? About choking in the playoffs.
Yeah, there's those guys. I mean, it's the Dax, it's the Lamars, it's the Tuas, it's to a certain extent, but a lesser extent, it's the Cousins. Like these guys, you can't win with them. You can't win without them. It's a catch-22, honestly.
Yeah. All right. I have a couple here, but I'll go with my first one. It feels like a little bit of an obvious one. I'm just planting my flag that this guy could be a lot better than what you expect him to be. And a lot of people have called this out, and we've talked about this before in the show. But Bryce Young had a historically
Oh,
terrible first season. But he's not
you're
the first
really
person to do that.
talk about dark horse.
Yeah, this is look, I think with I'm not
He's as
saying
bad as he has as bad of a stench around him as anyone.
but so did Eli Manning, so did Alex Smith. Like the thing is, I'm not
Trevor
saying bang
Lawrence.
the drum. Yeah,
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence, but Trevor Lawrence you can kind of chalk up to Urban Meyer, right?
Right. Yeah.
Um, and in this case here, it's hard because he's always going to be compared to CJ Stroud, who went second, but he had no supporting cast. His wide receiver one was Adam Thielen, for Christ's sake. Like they went out, they got legit or Leggett or however you pronounce it. They got
Yeah.
Deontay Johnson. Jonathan Brooks is an absolute makes that run game a lot more scary and like they're always going to load the box against Bryce Young because he was playing terrible. Like they kind of have to continue to do that because Brooks is there now. And above all else, Dave Canales says if you can revive Baker and you can revive Gino, I really do believe he can bring Bryce Young back from the dead. Um, and I just think people have counted him out because our expectation of top four, top five picks is you hit the ground running. It doesn't always happen that way. I mentioned Eli Manning, Alex Smith, who had just about as terrible rookie seasons as you could imagine. Uh,
Yeah.
I think he's coming back, and so I'm planning on flagging him because I want to be on this show next year saying I called it. Bryce Young,
Yeah. I
don't take him in the early five though. Like
Yeah, he'll definitely. I think a lot of what we're doing is relative to ADP, right? Like we're not talking
correct.
about go out and draft this guy 101, but we're saying like if you can get him 20 spots after he tends to go, it's a steal. And you know what? I appreciate the absolute stones that you have to make Bryce Young your first flag plant, given how bad
You know
he
his,
was.
his ADP.
What's his
His A,
ADP?
so his overall 169 QB 26. I just don't know if he deserves to be QB 26 in what I think will be a bounce back year for him.
I do feel confident that he'll finish higher than QB 26. Because I think
So
he'll
do I.
start the whole year. Hopefully he's healthy. Um, but I don't think that takes away from the absolute rocks that you just displayed. Starting off the very, very fun one of my favorite episodes of the year, Fantasy Flag Plan episode. My dark horse is going at QB 21 in best ball right now. And in my opinion, this guy belongs in the top 15. I think another guy like Dak who has an insane weapon set and has an insane uh, history of producing for fantasy football. Don't sleep on Matt Stafford as a dark horse.
Oh,
You
I
could
thought this was going to be Rogers. I was
you
about to
could
guess.
grab
Yeah, I
Rodgers
get it. I
health,
get it. I Rogers. I'm good with it.
consistency. His heart is in politics. I don't know, man. He'll show up to the game on ayahuasca. I don't know. It's fine. Really, Armand, I'm not as down on the Jets as I seem on this pod. I just like to take pot shots because I know you're here. But no, give me Matt Stafford late in drafts as my QB2 or as like a streamer QB option until I find something better. Or, if you end up drafting this is hilarious. Stop your scaring Armand. Yeah, I sorry, Armand. You deserve better.
You were
Um,
trying to.
I think I'm gonna go out on a limb and say Darnold for 6 games and then JJ. Adrian, call your
6
shot.
games? Yeah, I'm gonna stick right there next year. I agree. I think
Yep.
Donald's starting though, but I think he does. I think he's very short leash, couple losses at the door.
Yep.
I hope not though. I kind of want him to. I kind of want him to succeed, to be honest.
Stafford, very well. If you pair Stafford with, like, say, drafting like a JJ McCarthy or like a Jaden Daniels or like an upside player or like an Anthony Richardson, and then if like they get hurt or like they don't, work out the way we all think they're going to, boom, you have a plug and play guaranteed guy who's going to finish as a low end QB1, maybe high end QB2.
Gotcha. I'll give one more QB. And this one, because I've done a dark horse, I'll go the other end, and I'm just gonna shout some love to my boy Jordan Love again, and I think he deserves it.
Fair.
I think he's
Yeah.
I mean the reason why. So if you look at the last sort of 8 weeks of the regular season, Jordan Love ranked in 1 to 3 in most statistical categories. I'm not breaking any news here by saying he absolutely balled out. And I've talked about the fear of regression, but what I will say is all reports out of camp look super positive. The team has been there, and he has been there right from the beginning of the offseason program, even in the optional section. He's been working out over the offseason outside of camp with his receivers. Josh Jacobs has come in, and he's brought a lot of love. And not to mention, I think that the defense is really. How do you say?
Either way.
Does it matter? All right.
Say it either way.
The D defense, I'll just say both, right? Have really, I think, are going to take a step this year that are going to get the ball in his hand a lot more. So, he, I think the thing with like QBs is obviously a dual threat QB is always going to be more of like a danger to your fantasy team, or sorry, an asset to your fantasy team, danger against. And Jordan Love can't run that much, but he's sneaky, can run a little.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
I think that, yeah, I think you'll find that this year he's going to take that next step and hopefully deliver for the entire season. And so I really think, look, Jordan Love, my flag was there as QB2 last year. My flag is there as QB1 this year. And actually, if I recall right, I traded Josh Allen to you to get Justin Jefferson because I'm rolling with Jordan Love as my QB1. The might
You
be the
got
gridiron game.
you grabbed yes, you grabbed Justin Jefferson for me in Gridiron Gang, and you grabbed CJ Stroud for me in Legit.
Yes, I did.
And I traded you
I played on
Diggs
your
and
fandom.
Diggs in a second. You got the stack. I got
um,
Diggs off my freaking roster, which was all I really wanted.
Yeah, Title Maximum about Christian Watson. Like, look, there's all this talk about he's working on his hamstrings, this, that, and that's all well and good. To be honest, I actually don't think he needs to stay that healthy. They've got such a like their receiving room is stacked with like
But it would
decent
help though.
players.
It would help
Oh,
though,
hell yeah, it would. But
right?
like he was out for heaps of those last 8 games, and they didn't need him. Dontavian Wicks is stepping up. Romeo Dobbs is stepping up. Even Bo Melton is stepping up. So yeah, but it will help.
Yeah, and then 49ers faithful forever. This is an interesting comment because I agree that Brock Purdy is a solid fantasy football option this year, but he's going as the QB 13. He's not bad, but he
He's
doesn't have the upside of a lot of the guys who are going around him. So if you want to have a guy kind of like a Stafford that you're pretty sure you'll get 15 to 22 points from a game, and he probably won't lose you too many games, but he probably won't go out and win you too many games either, then Purdy's fine. But I'm a fences guy. I'm a fences guy.
yeah.
I want that upside. I'd rather have Will Levis, who's going later.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I get that.
You know, just
I think he's the reverse Dak Prescott. Love him in real life, fantasy. I don't know. I think there's just the way that the Shanahan offense operates.
he's still
He's
good.
never going to shine.
He still puts up numbers. He does.
Yeah,
He's still a high marking quarterback, but it's like more so like he wins by consistency and by being average for 17 games, as opposed to where there's guys like, players like Dak who will have the huge boom games and then a bad game, huge boom
yeah.
games, bad game. But I'd love to tell you go draft Josh Allen, but he's the QB 101. He's the QB 1. So I still think you should draft him. I'm a big,
Is he QB? Is he QB1?
he's QB1. He's been QB1 like 3 years in a row. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, vet that. Mr. I hate the Bills this offseason. Go. Please. I want to see the look in your eyes when you see that it's him.
I don't hate the Bills. Yeah, you're right. You are correct. He's QB1.
He's always one. He's perennial QB1. He's the
Um,
ultimate dual threat. He scores more touchdowns than anyone ever.
I just think because I have a moral obligation to the listeners just to vet some of the things we say,
Yeah, vet
particularly
it.
my
Vet
Packers
it.
talk. All right.
I used to be very big on don't draft a QB early. I think everyone is not drafting a QB early now. That's kind of the zig. And I think the zag now is late second, early third. Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts are going to be staring you in the face. And that's a huge positional advantage. They're going to rush for 12 to 15 touchdowns and throw for a lot of yards. Those two guys, they break the position. I don't hate drafting.
Can I plant my flag in Josh Allen's? Sorry, Jalen Hurts is rolling back this year. Like, as in, can I plant a reverse flag that I
Yeah.
don't want Jalen Hurts on my team?
Yeah.
I think
I'm
without
not as into him
Kelsey,
either.
tush push is gone, so
Yep.
you're going to see a significant drop in his touchdowns. Well, it's not gone, but it's not. It's just going to return to league average. So, like, I don't think Jalen Hurts is going to be.
If I can't snag Josh, I probably am not thinking about a quarterback until Lamar Jackson or Anthony Richardson a little later.
Yeah.
All right. Good, sir. We have planted our flags in our quarterbacks. And
Saucy.
Adrian, hit me with a running back that you are planting your flag in.
All right. Okay. I am going to. Got 3 here to pick from. All right. Here's mine. This is not my dark horse. I think this is one that is relatively known. He's a bit in the middle of the pack, but I think he's worth pushing up there, right? DeAndre Swift. Now, his current ADP is somewhere between 60 to 70, depending where you look, right?
Yeah.
He landed with the Bears.
Can you do by running back position?
Huh? I can. I will do it. Let me go on my spiel and then I'll mute so the listeners don't have to hear my keyboard.
No, he's RB21 according to Fantasy Pros.
Right. So for me, I think he comes to a Bears team that's got Caleb Williams, who's absolutely undoubtedly going to be one of the more passing heavy and running himself kind of quarterbacks, but he's still a rookie. So you still need to lean on your running back so he doesn't get creamed or when he starts to have a bad streak and you've got to protect his ego a little bit. He's
Yeah.
got Roshan Johnson and Khalil Herbert behind him. So he's playing 3 downs, right? He seems to have his injury concerns under wraps. And the beauty of Caleb Williams, I think, right, is normally you get a rookie QB, they stack the box against an elite runner, which DeAndre Swift can be. I'm not sure he's been elite, but he absolutely when he entered the league, he was on fire. Ranked 17th in explosive runs last year. He went over 1,000 yards with the Eagles in a committee running back room. I just think DeAndre Swift is in the right situation, and I think he's got the right pieces around him to really be good here. Well above an ADP of 60 to 70. Was RB 21?
Yeah. I like it. Yeah, I contemplated making him my pick as well. So good job, Adrian Ravito of Legit Football.
I tried.
You nailed that.
I tried to trade for him in our league, but unfortunately, the person who owns him is a little bit inactive, and I just don't know if they've seen my trade.
Better go twist their arm, man. We don't have inactive users in our leagues, man. That's not allowed.
Less active, not inactive, but yeah.
So good, sir. I like your pick a lot. I'm in on Swift as well. Especially at that ADP.
I disagree strongly. 49ers fans. Sorry, go.
Oh, you don't like him? You don't like Kyron this year?
In fact, my dark horse is going to be related to Kyron Williams, but you go.
I think I have an idea. Really quick, 49ers faithful, super flex. 2 QBs. The second one is essentially a super flex. So you could play a QB or you could play any position, but obviously it behooves you to play a quarterback because they score more. Super flex is very fun, very toxic though, very sweaty. It's very difficult to.
I love it.
It's very difficult to make it through a 16-game season without having some hiccups. Armand, he's the contract guy. I would assume yes. I don't see why not. You can convert anything into a signing bonus if you want. No.
Yeah, they can restructure contracts anyway. Like that's if you're part of that, the cap isn't real, gang. You will point to a million examples of where people have done similar to what you've said. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the ultimate yes and no answer. The cap isn't real. Yes and no, right?
Yeah,
let me hit you with a dark horse that I actually feel okay. Or actually, no. I'll start with my higher drafted guy. This guy's going as the RB 14. And again, you talked about last year how good he was going to be. I'm empowering you. I'm empowering you to draft James Cook this year in fantasy football.
Baby Cook
is a weapon. His yards per route run are so phenomenal. His fantasy points per game last year was so phenomenal. If he can stop with the yips, he has this weird yippy drop problem. He had a couple big drops last year. He's been dropping them in camp, but we drafted him to be a pass catching running back. I think he's going to be a fantasy football RB1 this year. 57%, Adrian. Do you know what that number is?
Hold on, let me think.
57%. I'll give you a hint. It's related more to the Bills' offense than it is to Baby Cook individually.
No, I don't. Tell me.
57%. Go ahead.
Is it a formation?
No.
Okay.
All right. 57% is the number of Josh Allen targets that have been vacated.
Vacated?
There's a 100% target pie, Adrian. 57% of those targets are out the door in other cities at other mandatory mini camps. Are you Diggs?
Sorry. Hardy. Okay, so vacated. I understand what you're saying.
Yes, those targets are now up for grabs.
My IQ's taking a hit on this show between the best ball and
Hey, you know what? We still love you.
That's what matters to me.
We still 100% love you, even though, we are questioning your intelligence a little bit. Just kidding.
I get that.
Totally kidding. You're just Australian. You're just European. It's normal.
We're floaties around soup. I got
it. But I think a big chunk of that 57% goes to Baby Cook. And spoiler alert, I might be talking where else they might be going later in the show. But Josh Allen targets have proven to be very valuable for fantasy football. My dark horse, Adrian. Another name that shouldn't be a dark horse. This guy has been one of the better running backs in the league over the last
Nick Chubb.
years.
You're going to say Nick Chubb.
I'm not going to say Nick Chubb. Mr. sending me offers at 3 a.m, sending me you up texts about Nick Chubb. I know it's technically Australian hours, but I got that
Stand
trade
by.
offer at 3 in the morning. I was like, oh, Adrian's up late scrolling.
Did
Adrian's
it did it ding? Did it wake you up?
Adrian. No, I was up playing Fortnite, dude. You kidding?
Nice.
um, believe it or not, former RB1 Tony Pollard is going as the RB29 right
Tony
now.
Pollard.
Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I don't love the player. I don't love the talent, but I love the opportunity. His backup doesn't have an ACL, and that offense is going to be a lot better this year. And Will Levis, we're going to find out if he's for real or not really fast. Give me RB29 value, Tony Pollard. If he's your RB2, if he's your first flex, your first off the bench, are you really going to be that pressed?
I'm gonna disagree with you.
Okay.
I only because like we've agreed on most things here, but I need to disagree. I think Tony Pollard had his chance to prove that he was a good running back. Now, like all things, if you can get him at an ADP value, then it's worth having him on your bench.
Adrian, does
But
he have to be a good running back to be higher than RB29?
well, no, that's my point being is if you can get him at a good spot. But to me, if he's one of your starting running backs, you're probably like that's a weak spot.
How much are we betting on this?
What's the question? What are we
Over
betting?
under Tony Pollard's fantasy finish RB28.5.
Nah, you can't. That statistically that makes no sense for me to take that bet.
Oh.
Yes, but I just don't think. Yeah, but that doesn't matter. That's like saying if someone finishes RB QB 32, that he should be because he's a starter. No, if you're in a 12-man league, you don't want your RB 20. If you don't want your RB 20 being a starting running back. 17th, I would take that bet.
Ladies and gentlemen,
16 and a half.
Please leave in the comments how cowardly Adrian Revito is being right now because
$5 million on RB 17 above.
But I'm saying RB29 is a value for him. You think he'll be higher than RB29, then you agree with me.
So what you're saying to me is when you plant your flag, you're taking someone is going to just beat their ADP.
Outperform their ADP. I mean, it's something. I feel you. Yeah. You're saying how far am I willing to go the other way?
When I plant my flag, I want that player to feel my flag inside them. You feel me? Like I don't, this is a PG show, so I'm gonna make it. I don't want to use euphemisms, but I want them to know.
I want to censor that out if we can.
Undoubtedly, that my flag is. You get me?
Yeah, I you know what? I respect where you're coming from. I see your point, and I will agree to disagree on Tony Pollard. I like 25 and a half. I would do 20 on.
25. See, I'd be tempted to take that.
That's a market percentage. $20.
23 and a half, and you got a deal.
24 and a half. Final offer.
All right, meet me in the middle. You got it.
All right, let's go. Put it in the books. You got the books, right? Of all our bets.
I do not. All right, we talk about betting a lot.
Yeah, you better freaking start it, man.
I will write this down there. All right.
I know you got another RB flag plant while we're displaying our degeneracy to our listeners right now.
Actually, and I've added a banner for the end because we need to check in on betting degenerate hill. I've got a couple of things to talk about.
Love that.
Can I just jump in? 49ers faithful, Aaron Jones. I looked him up. Currently RB18. I think he'll outperform that. I think the Vikings are going to need. He actually played really well towards the end of the year when he wasn't on the sideline. Hopefully, sorted his injuries out. I agree with you on that. Would take that bet any day of the week. And depending on the rookie running back, if it's like Jonathan Brooks, for example, I'm taking Jonathan Brooks any day of the week.
Me too.
Yeah. It'd have to be depend who. And I'm glad you brought this up because Blake Corum is absolutely my dark horse running back. And I would take Blake Corum over Tony Pollard. In fact, I did take Blake Corum over Tony Pollard. So let's just talk Kyren Williams for a second. Kyren Williams was a league winner last year early on. Like he absolutely won people games. But that workload, I heard him. Sean McVay said as much. He's still a little bit shaken up. There's still reports coming out of camp that he's a little bit shaken up. We'll talk Braylon Allen in a second, Armand. I think Corum and Williams have a very similar skill set. So I think they're going to start at least splitting the workload. And I think if Corum has the production that I expect him to have, I think that he is going to end up taking that lead role from Williams. So I think if this is a dynasty league you're drafting in, Blake Corum for next year, because I think this year he's not going to win you any games, even though he is one of my starting running backs, which is a problem.
Kyren is?
No, Blake Corum is.
Okay. Okay.
But I had a terrible running back room in that league. So, but I think by next year he's going to be a superstar.
Yeah, I I have to do the same thing for you, and I have to disagree.
That's fair.
Um, I like I like Blake Corum a lot. I think he's a really good player, but I think Kyron Williams is a dog, and I think Kyron Williams has proven what he's capable of. And King of the Hill rules. Ain't nobody taking that rock from Kyron, bro. He is a stud, and he's gonna show it this year. And yeah, I'll put my money where my mouth is with Kyron. I don't. I'm not afraid to. I'm not afraid
Am
to
I going to?
back Kyron.
I'm going to be in debt after this episode.
I
I
think
just look.
so.
I think Sean McVay talked about. He talked about Kyron Williams not being able, not handling the workload. He didn't use those words, but talking about getting him less of a workload. And to me, right, like coach speak should be amplified. So if he's for them to say something like that, if he's speaking here, he's thinking here. And so I think that the workload is going to be split. I think they drafted Blake Corum, I think third round, if I'm not wrong. Um, and they used that capital to draft a running back when they had a good one because he's not going to handle. He's not a three down back, Kyron Williams. And if Blake Corum with a similar skill set delivers just as well, but can survive three downs without injury, well, then he's going to take that spot.
Yeah,
But I hear you.
yeah. Gotta
And he's
love
a dark horse
Kyron.
for a reason.
You can't not love Kyron. Braylon Allen, handcuff, in my opinion. Great handcuff.
He's my boy. He's my
Great
guy.
player.
I hate that he landed at the Jets, but you know what?
I just love
Brees
Brees
Hall's been
that much.
showing some.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's been showing some injury concerns already. And so there'll be a couple games where at least 4 or 5 games this season where Braylon Allen is starting.
4 or 5
Okay?
games where Braylon Allen is starting?
As in where Brees Hall is out injured.
I don't know. Brees was pretty durable last year, no?
Didn't he get injured? I'm sure I'm not going crazy here.
I felt like Brees was pretty durable last year.
And he was out the year before.
He tore his ACL the year prior.
Hmm.
I love Brees Hall, man. He's one of my
He is
favorite
good.
players in the NFL.
He is
He's a
awesome.
tank. He's a tank. Congrats, Armand. The Jets did something right.
Yeah,
Brees
they
Hall
have
is
to.
an absolute dog. Okay, Adrian, why don't you kick us off with your flag plant wide receivers?
All right. All right. I'm deciding between two here. I'm just going to give you them both, but I'm going to plant my flag in somewhere very, very familiar. So I had Calvin Ridley and I also had Chris Olave. Chris Olave is undoubtedly an amazing player, and I love him. I actually really, really love him. But I'm going to go Calvin Ridley just because he's a little bit less of a like kind of mainstream pick, I guess.
Yeah.
So I was on this train last year. He dropped a lot of balls. Do not get me wrong. I understand. He was his first year back in the league after the suspension. Um, and he suffered from those drops. But if Levis can take that step, and we've talked about Levis on this show, I know friends of the show, Pro Football Demon, uh, loves Levis.
Traded
If you
two
watch it,
firsts for him. Yeah.
yeah, that was a questionable move. But if he takes that next step, Calvin Ridley's wide receiver one. His competition is probably Hopkins, who's a bit of a depleted asset at this point in his stage, and that's no
Yeah.
disrespect to him because he has been amazing his whole career.
Yeah.
But this is not the first time, right? You see a QB breakout, and their wide receiver one takes that step with him. Think about Diggs, and when Josh Allen broke out, think about AJ Brown and the Eagles. Like it's not the first time it's happened. So I think Calvin Ridley is going to be that man this year, and if he can just not drop these easy passes,
Yeah. Gimme.
he's going. I mean, he still hit over 1,000 yards for what it's worth. He
Yeah.
was still a
Yeah.
solid player.
He's a decent wide receiver. I think it'll be fun for him in Tennessee. Is that who you got this year too? You're doubling down.
Yeah,
You loved
keeping
him last year too. You loved
And
him last
I
year.
did. I was the person last year, but I just think like purely from a fantasy aspect, I think he's in the right space, and it's all predicated on Levis taking that step, which I think hopefully he at least, we catch a little bit of that magic from his first game that he played as a starter, as
Yeah.
opposed to the rest. So
He had some good ones. You know, he let him back from down 2 scores with like 3 minutes left against Miami. That was awesome.
yeah,
I'm like
you're
this
not in it. Yeah,
on Ridley. I'm not mad at it because again, it's just like my Pollard call. It's value. I
yeah.
can't deny that it's value where he's going. He's going so much later than you would
I'm gonna
expect
see
him to go.
what is his.
I think he's like wide receiver 29 or something like that.
Yeah, which I think he can absolutely outdo that. He's wide receiver 35. So to
Oh,
me,
even better.
yeah, yeah.
Even better. Yeah, no brainer. If you're on the clock at wide receiver 35 and Ridley staring you in the face,
Mhm.
let this be your nudge. Go ahead. It's not going to feel great. It won't look great all year, but it will. He'll probably outproduce that.
Agreed.
I'm going with my layup here, and this is as much of a nudge as anything. This player's going as the wide receiver 12 right now, and I could not be more fond of a wide receiver. They remind me of Eric Moulds in his prime with the Bills. Do you remember Eric Moulds?
Sorry.
Go. I'm gonna. You gotta
Give us
Google
some
like
highlight
Eric.
clips.
Yeah, Google Eric Moulds highlights. But his name is Nico Collins,
Oh, yeah, boy.
and he is just so excellent. And I've been the Houston advocate on this podcast for a long time, and I'm. It's not like it's not like an I hate you or I'm breaking up with you kind of thing. It's just like I need some space because they
Yeah.
traded for Stephon Diggs, who, by the way, he's not hitting his ADP. Fade Stephon Diggs this year. That's easy. That's a no brainer. He had a terrible stretch.
I am so angry.
It's true, 100%. So, Nico Collins at wide receiver 12. I could foresee him having like a 1,412 kind of season with 80 plus touchdowns. CJ Stroud's number one wide receiver. Some of the nastiest highlights I've ever seen in my life last year. Crazy route running, crazy
He does it
hands.
all. He does it
He
all.
does it all. He's an excellent player, and I cannot wait to see how his career shakes out in Houston. Give me Nico Collins to beat wide receiver 12. I think he'll be a top 7 guy.
Did he's wide receiver 12. I agree with you 100%. Like I'm right on top of it. In fact, I drafted him as well. Yeah, I would see him in the top 7 as well. I think he's amazing.
Yeah.
And I think he's only going to get better. Like, I mean,
Yep.
don't get me wrong. CJ Stroud may regress slightly, but he also may improve because just based on like the consistency of what he did last year, it wasn't flashes. He dominated from start to end.
Yeah, he was a good player.
Yeah. So no, I love this pick.
Yep. So that's one for each of us. Let's address this here really quick. No, because Motor's there, and Motor's a great player. Eric Gray will not be wide receiver 1 for the Giants, or running back 1 for the Giants. I like Tyrone Tracy even more than Eric Gray, to be completely honest with you. Love
disagree?
this. Curtis Samuel with the resurgence season. Yeah, let's go.
Oh, what would you love that? I don't know.
hey, let me tell you a little secret. I don't.
Let me guess. Can I guess your dark horse?
No, I don't have a. Yeah, I know who you think it's gonna be. I was gonna say I don't have a Bills wide receiver in this segment, but they're all values because they're all catching passes from Josh Allen. And
I thought Keon Coleman was coming in.
to be honest with you, I think Coleman will be the touchdown scorer. I think Shakir will be the receptions guy. I think Samuel will be the yards guy. I really believe that. I think they're all values. You just won't know what week to play them. And I think until week 7 or 8, the picture will be a little murky. So I think if you do draft a Bills wide receiver, plan to stash them until later in the season when the picture gets clearer. That's just my read on the receiver situation. It's a crowded room right now. So
I do agree with you on this. Actually, it's kind of similar to Green Bay. There's no one that's going to be a standout wide receiver one.
If I'm planning a Green Bay flag, it's Reed, and if I'm planning a Buffalo flag, it's Shakir.
Love Shakir.
Yeah, I love him.
Just love Shakir.
Okay, sir, give me your wide receiver. I guess you can. Ridley's a dark horse at 35. You can go a lot higher than that if you want.
Well, I mean, I would say Chris Olave then if I wanted to go. But like my, you know, I'm just going to throw one in. I'm going to throw my flag into a rookie one here. Our boy. You know him. I know him. He's a lad. He's Lad McConkey.
Oh, yeah. I love Lad McConkey. Not a bad call.
Yeah, I think, look, he's wide receiver 3 on a depth chart for the Chargers, but he's going to be one, in my personal opinion, right? Josh Palmer is not a wide receiver 1. He's been getting glowing reports. This is such a like off-season story grabbing headline. Lad McConkey makes history getting paid by the highest. Makes history with his contract, and it was he got paid the highest for a 32 overall pick or something like that, whatever it was. Not the highest in history, just the highest at that number. But there were other notable people in that category, and I think the Chargers paid him the most because he has been killing it in minicamp. And I think that boxes are going to be stacked against a Harbaugh offense, and so you've got a great QB. You've got the people like really downplaying their air game here, or their pass game, and I think Lad McConkey is going to benefit from it.
Yeah, honestly, I love Lad McConkey. He's going to be an absolute slot weapon. He could be the Chargers' very own version of Cooper Kupp. I love Drake London as well.
Same.
definitely willing to plant my flag there. My dark horse, I'm actually having a hard time directly identifying their ADP. But I did this exercise, Adrian, right? Because we have emotions, right? We're both analysts, and we're both clearly just
We're
such
people
logical.
first.
We're both just such logical people, right? Obviously, but
Totally.
we're both huge fans. We love football, and our emotions get in the way a lot. So I decided to, for my dark horse at the wide receiver position, not think about my emotions at all. I went to my underdog draft history, and I looked at what players I had the highest exposure to, which means guys later in the draft who I had on my team. And I have I have three best ball teams, and there's one player who's on every single one. And it's a wide receiver. And he's going, I want to say, in the wide receiver 40 range. And I think he's being left for dead, and he's got talent. And I think he'll be my issue with him is who's throwing the ball to him. But watch out for Jerry Jeudy this year.
Oh, okay. Well, and he's got a new QB, doesn't he?
Watson, right? Because he
Yeah,
got
that's
traded
what I'm
to
saying. But
Cleveland. Yeah.
correct.
So we'll see. But I mean, I hate Watson. I think Watson sucks. But Jeudy, I think he's a value. He's a really talented guy. Watson's been able to funnel some good target system players in the past. I watch out for him. I don't think we've heard the last of him yet.
He's 55 on Fantasy Pros.
55. Wide receiver 55. Jerry Jeudy.
I agree. I like this one. This is a good pick.
First round pick.
I agree with you.
There is no way he doesn't finish any lower than wide receiver 44 is my prediction. But I think he could be a wide receiver 3. I really do.
Wide receiver 3.
A wide receiver 3, meaning, so in fantasy, that means if there's 12.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I thought
yeah. Like between 24 and 36, I think he could.
Oh, you're shot.
Yeah. That's a shot. 49ers faithful doesn't agree with me. Thinks he's overrated at 55, which is crazy.
Isn't it? It's just like Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy is like one of those players who was like every year it's like it was going to be his breakout. It was going to be his breakout, and never really broke out.
Nope.
But you get him into a different offense. Change is
He's
always good.
Paid.
And some players do that. They move into a different offense, and they move into a Cleveland team where if Deshaun Watson is even playing at like 50% of what we saw of him in the Texans, they're a playoff team at best.
Yeah. Joseph Tafur, who is the best defensive tackle?
Wow,
that's a great question. There's a lot of good ones. Chris Jones is probably my candidate.
You'd have to put him right up there, right? I mean, look, I guess with Aaron Donald gone, that you'd have to put
Justin Madubuike. It's very good.
Madubuike.
Yeah.
But I mean, I know we're not talking from a fantasy because defensive tackles don't play, right?
No. I mean, I have one league where we draft individual defensive players. It's called IDP. It's a fun little wrinkle.
Sounds too much for me.
Christian Wilkins.
I don't mind throwing in a defensive team. Like, I don't mind throwing.
Yeah. The team defense. Yeah, that's fine. Good sir. Are we moving on rounding the corner to our last position here?
Straight to tight ends.
Adrian, why don't you kick us off, man?
All right. Okay, I'm gonna go with my established product first, and it is and I acquired him last year. It is Trey McBride. So he is. I mean, he's currently like he'd be in the top 5 tight ends at the moment. I think in most people's leagues. So he's not. I'm not telling you. I'm not breaking in news here, but I think if he stays healthy, he's going to be tight end. Can I say 2? I'm going to say tight end 2 overall. That's how I think Kelsey is going to regress. I think Laporta is going to take that one spot. Mark Andrews is as consistent as anyone, but I just think that he's getting on in years. Injuries have played a part. So I think Trey McBride at the moment is you got Harrison Jr. who's going to be taking a lot of attention. And if you read the legit football news lines, you're going to see that Harrison Jr. is absolutely blowing up.
As advertised,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, 100%. You got a short quarterback who needs a big target over the middle. And I just think that Trey McBride has shown that he's got that superstar potential in him. And I think that he's athletic. He hasn't got a lot of competition. And I think that you got Harrison who's going to take the game away, the defenses away. I just think he's going to really blow up this year.
Over under 2.5. You got 20 on that?
No.
3.5?
No, I need a 3.5. I'd take in a heartbeat.
Well, we did. Well, we said 2.5. You said yes before. We
the reason being, I need I need to believe in my own picks.
My dude's over here. My dude's over here trying to get diaper money, man, and I'm over here trying to take it.
I'm all for it. I'm all for it. McBride 2.5, $20. You got it.
I love it. All right, good sir. I'll give you one guess who mine's gonna be because it's easy.
Ah, I mean, it's got to be Mr. Kincaid.
It's so easy, bro. He's going.
I was gonna do it, but I was like, yeah, you're taking it for sure.
He's going as the tight end 5, and I really think he has the path to be Josh Allen's number 1 target. 57%, Adrian. You know what that number is?
I don't. Please explain it to me. It's vacated my mind.
The number of targets that have vacated the building at One Bills Drive. And I think that means that Dalton Kincaid, who was drafted 25th overall a year back and exceeded expectations in his rookie year, I don't think it's even a question that he is going to be in line for 100 plus, 110 plus, 120 plus targets from Josh Allen. And we know how valuable those targets are. His catch percentage is high. He's kind of operating as a sort of pseudo slot, movable chess piece, sometimes inline, sometimes not. I don't think there's any question. I will take the over on Kincaid tight end 5.5 if you're offering.
I literally wrote down 4.5. But I'll tell you what, how about we spice this up? McBride versus Kincaid. $20 on the top.
No.
No?
No, I think McBride will be. I agree with you on that. I think McBride will be a top 3 guy.
I'll give you 4.5. 5.5. No.
All right, I'll set this one out.
Right.
Yeah, but it's a no brainer for me. If you can snag the stack, the Allen Kincaid stack in the 3rd and 5th, something along those lines, don't hesitate. I think it's going to be very lucrative for fantasy football this season.
I like the call.
All right.
All right. I'll give you my dark horse. So someone that has flashed and has shown that he's got the ability, but probably hasn't delivered to it. Not probably, absolutely has not delivered to the expectations. But this person got 23 points in the fantasy finals last year. Might have won some people with their leagues. I'm talking about Juwan Johnson for the Saints.
Wow.
So Chris Olave
did sustain an injury that required surgery at practice like last week. I'm pretty sure. Did you? Are you abreast of that?
I did not read that, but I'm still going to I'm going to stick by my pick.
Okay.
Hopefully he's good for week 1.
Yeah.
He's currently tight end 24, 181 overall. And there's just not a lot of receiving talent on that team behind Chris Olave. So I think Derek Carr's been getting good reports this season. Seems like he's flashing chemistry. I think Juwan Johnson, I might have even called him out, and not in the fantasy show, but in a show last year about someone that I really liked, and the Saints loved him.
I like him too. He's a talented guy.
I think tight end 24, I think that if you can get him, if you're getting him 24 plus, I think you're getting value.
Yeah, honestly, I couldn't agree more, man. Juwan Johnson's an excellent player. I'm going to take the tight end 16 with my dark horse, and we're looking at.
Can I pause you?
Yeah.
Just a yes or no on this. It's faithful asking about Kyle Pitts. I'll just say in case anyone's just listening.
It's the ultimate. I'm ready to be hurt again, right? Like, I think we all are experiencing. The entire fantasy community is experiencing that sort of like, it hasn't. The meme where he's like, it hasn't worked out for anyone else, but for us, it's going to. And they all deluded themselves into thinking it would, unlike us, because for us it's going to work.
Correct.
I'll say yes because I'm an idiot. I'll say yes because I believe in faith and I believe in.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
You know what that is? I feel like what you just described is what it feels like to be a Jets fan every year.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm mine. That was really mean, but yeah. And what it's like to be a Bills fan in the playoffs.
Very cool. I mean, look, that's a lot of teams, but I hear you.
Yeah, exactly. True. I will close out the show on a fitting note here because there's a player who really has kind of quietly been a good player for fantasy football and in general. He's made some great plays. And he's put up some good numbers and he's had spotty quarterback play. And I think that his quarterback situation got a lot better. You might think it's plateaued, but I'm talking about Cole Kmet. Going to tight end 16. Rookie quarterbacks love tight ends and running backs. And Cole Kmet is as big of a safety blanket as they come. That's XL, baby. I think he'll be a red zone favorite. I think he'll be a third down favorite. And I think I could see Cole Kmet finishing as a top 12 fantasy tight end this year for sure, and he's going as tight end 16, so definite value.
Yeah, I agree with you on this. No, I think like whether his quarterback is elite or average, I don't know, but I think there's undoubtedly the room around him has gotten better, and he already showed that he's got that potential. So no, I like this pick.
I think it's going to be really fun. Adrian, we got a rapid fire at the end. If you got any more fun takes that you want to spit out.
We don't, but I've got one other thing. It's unrelated to this. So if you've got any rapid fire, you want reel them off.
I think at tight end, I would definitely. I'm a huge big fan of David Njoku.
Oh yeah, love
always
Njoku.
keep your eyes peeled on him. I think Jackson Smith and Jigba will outperform his average draft position. Keep your eyes on him. I think cover your ears and make sure you have a Tums handy. But I think Daniel Jones could definitely do some damage in fantasy this year. I'd roll
the dice on Bo Nix. I'd roll the dice on Bo Nix, especially over Daniel Jones, but that goes without saying. I would roll the dice on Bo Nix. I think he could be good.
Bo Nix, there you go. That's a bold take. That's a hot take. We gotta get some hot takes out of here, man. You know, we gotta stir the pot a little bit.
Always.
All right.
I think Bo Nix could be good.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he's the most likely of the rookie QBs to flame out, though.
Yeah, but you know, like there's one every year, you know. There's just one, and I think he could be that one every year where it's like, nah, he's gonna go terrible, and he does great. I don't know what, like, if I'm picking out of, like, take away the your top 3 QBs. If I'm picking out of the second tier, I feel like Bo Nix is probably in the best situation.
Yeah, I can see that. Kobe Fleener, that's a deep cut, man. Did not think I'd hear that name today. Shout out to Kobe Fleener. Good times.
So just quickly over on Betting Degenerate Corner, let me bring up I think. There's two things I had to bring up. The first is I said to you last week when we did our over under that I would put some cold hard Australian currency on anything that we agreed on. On our one of our many betting websites here, which is Sportsbet, I put together a what you would call a parlay, what we call a multi, for all of our over unders that match, which was 16 legs. Now, we went 16, famously went 16 for 16 in the AFC last year.
Famously.
Take a guess at and to temper your expectations here, I had to reduce my bet from $10 to $8 because the max payout was too high. There was a limit. How much do you think I'm winning with $8 if all 16 of those hit?
30 grand. 30 grand. 30 grand.
$1 million.
So I have to just do it again. I have to just pull another rabbit out of my hat, Adrian. Because if we split a milli, man.
Yeah, totally. So like I'm just saying that.
Share it with our listeners too.
Yeah,
drop a comment if you want. If you share the podcast, if you want to share the million.
Gonna need to see evidence. If we don't have 1 million followers and everyone gets $1, whatever.
Yep.
So that's part one, and I had to just part two on this because it made me think of it when you talked about like falling into the betting corner and going to your best ball spaces. It's just a funny story. Last year, you know what I was betting on? Just randomly.
What?
I was betting on I think it was Russian or maybe Slovakian table tennis league. Like, because I was just like, I had this theory where I was like, I wanted to find the more predictable sport, and and as a little bit of research, I found that was the way. So what I would do is I'd put $50 down on a favorite, and I'd play the favorite, like I'd reinvest favorite, and a couple of times I got up to sort of $300-400 off the wins. But yeah, real random, and that just shows what kind of betting degenerates we are here.
I think that might be like a moment where you call the number.
Yeah, that was my wife was like when I was bringing up this Slovakian or Russian table tennis league on one screen as I was working on the other.
Yeah,
she's like, you know,
it might be time. No,
you see the flame go out in the eyes just a little bit.
Yeah, I had that moment for me. It was this past week where I was like, oh, NBA season's over. I can finally chill. I don't have to make bets. And then my app is like, here's 3 free $25 bets. And here's some discounts on the WNBA. And I was like, oh yeah, whatever. I'll throw some money. And I ended up losing it all. And I was like, I should stick to what I know.
Yeah.
I should stick to what I know. I don't, when you're betting to bet, call the number.
And you go as far away from what you know when you're betting on an Eastern European.
Yeah. The fact that you didn't know what country it was is like,
it's even bigger an issue.
He said Russian, maybe Slovakian.
Yeah, I mean, peek behind the
That's-
curtain here, people. This is the lives.
That's it's a beautiful thing. And you know what, guys? We're here for you, right? We all do it. We all have those moments. We're all human.
And that wraps it.
Yeah, what a beautiful
Right
like
on an
little,
hour.
what a beautiful little moment to end the show on. We're all here for you, right? You know, you have a friend in us.
I love you guys.
Hey, shout out to 49ers faithful. Shout out to Armand. Shout out to Titan Maximum. Shout out to Joseph Toofer. Shout out to, we had another guy in here who was chopping it up with us.
Scrolling up. I don't want to leave anyone out. There's the Espresso podcast.
Shout out to the Espresso podcast. That's goated. Okay, hey, Mr. Adrian, another week in paradise. I cannot wait to see where these degenerate bets that we just made lie when the season rolls around. But
can't wait.
We got through another show. This has been the Legit Football NFL podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Phillip Fox. He's Adrian Revito, and we are